fixing today? Well, today we're fixing supper. Supper for the next, for once or twice a month for the next 2 years. I'm making sauerkraut. This is how you take cabbage and make sauerkraut. This cutter I had inherited to me, well, sort of inherited. I had it turned over to me from my parents. They used it and they made sauerkraut for years, and I grew up with it. My wife loves sauerkraut. My kids, not so much. But we do. So, what you do is you take, you put on a leather glove, because those blades in there are sharp. Take a leather glove, and you run it through the cutter. Just back and forth and back and forth. And when we did this a couple weeks ago, started in the end of October. We got the cabbage from a farmer's market. Bought them from a farmer that had it for sale. That's what the shredded look like. Bought them from a farmer's market. I've tried to grow cabbage, and if you see on my channel, you can see there's a couple of garden videos. I've never come close to nice heads of cabbage like that. I'll take, she's cleaning up a little bit there now. She's going to take, she takes a whole cabbage. There we go. Takes a whole cabbage. And you break off some of the green leaves, because the green in the sauerkraut, we tried that one year. It didn't work out very well. Cabbage, it tasted all right. Sauerkraut tasted all right, but it was a little weird because it was green. So, so now there's a better use for it anyway. You'll see what that use is coming up. But after she takes off a few leaves, she cuts it in quarters so that I can fit it on the cutter. And then after she cuts it in quarters, she takes the core and she trims it off. Boom, boom. Gives me the quarters. And I sit there and cut them up. Now, this is not really hard work. Altogether, to do these, 15 heads of cabbage, it took us about an hour, maybe. So it doesn't take too long. You see, after a head or two there, I got a pretty good bucket going. And after I get that full, then you'll see what happens. My wife then does the other part, putting it in the buckets on the left there? The buckets are where the sauerkraut ferments. So we're going to start filling them up. And if you look way in the bottom corner down there, there's a little piece of wood. You'll see what that's for in a minute. But here she goes. Here she's taking out the piece of wood. That's the banger. I don't know what you call it. But that was made by my grandfather on his lathe. My grandfather has passed many years, so it's the last thing I have of my grandfather's. And it's pretty special to me. It's just a chunk of wood to beat on sauerkraut, but it's pretty special. So she dumps the cabbage in, gives me the thing, and I start cutting again. Now, there is a couple of sets. There's like two of those blue things of cabbage in those pails already. And when we make sauerkraut, what we do is we take, each bucket will get about 2 apples. You could do more if you want. But this year we did 2 apples, and these are good edible apples that we got from our, we have a service that gets us vegetables, imperfect vegetables. We subscribe to that. So we got some apples from them, but you could also take like apples that have fallen from a tree or anything like that. What you got to do is, if they're apples that are kind of, you can even take, we've already taken, made apple pies, and then taken the peelings from the apple and put it in there. But what you don't want to do is you don't want to put in the seeds from the apple, because the apple seeds have some chemical in it that's bad for you. You can see what she's doing there now. She's putting in caraway seed. We like caraway seed, but our relatives don't. So we make half of it with caraway seed and half of it without. And when our friends come over, assuming quarantine ends sometime, I'm hoping we get to bring this up to Christmas next year. Well, you see what she's doing. she's pounding it down. And when you pound it down, what you're doing is packing it tight. You need to pack tight so that you have a, get out as much of the air as you can. And also, there she drops the apple in. And it also takes the, busts up the cabbage a little bit so that it tends to juice better. Took a little jump now. We're now towards the end. See her do another batch here. Like I said, that was about 45 minutes or close to an hour. That red cabbage that we have cut there, we're not going to put this in. If you put red cabbage in, be prepared for all the cabbage, all the coleslaw, all the sauerkraut to be red, which is just weird. We don't want that either. So you can see what we got here. I'm putting in the last of the scraps from my cutter, and she's salting. And we don't have a recipe, so salt to taste. And you can see how much salt she puts in. She puts that in every time she puts in a layer and pounds it down. Now, of course, you're going to see the camera shake here a bit because the big monster's pounding it down for the last time here. I did pound it down really hard in the middle as well, but I'm pounding it down here now to get it to the final compression. So bang, 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 and the whole world shakes, I guess. But the idea is here to pack it tight and bust it up as much as you can in there, and then the juice will come out. The other thing that we found out this year as we made it, in years past we've had trouble where the sauerkraut would be kind of dry and it wouldn't get enough water. You had to add water for it to ferment right. Well, this year what we did was we bought it at the farmer's market and we left it sit on the deck for a day or two, and it rained on it for a day. And then this is the day after the rain. We found out that added water in the cabbage soaked up from the rain really helped things. We got a nice amount of water in it, and it fermented really well, but you'll see that later. So this is what we do with the greeny leaves that are on top. So the very top is exposed to the air, and that pretty much rots. The stuff down on the bottom ferments and becomes the good tasty sauerkraut that you're all used to. But the very top all has to be thrown away. So there's no sense in cutting it up into slaw. This is the green stuff that we don't like anyway. So this is a perfect place for it, and it works really well up here. I'm taking it and I'm packing it down, getting about half of the leaves that we created. There, I'm checking, figuring out where about half is. Now I'm going to take that and, don't pound on it there because that's not going to work. Yeah, that's better. Well, pound on it some more. Get these packed down a little bit. Make sure that it's all flat underneath. The boss has brought some plates. The plates are used to kind of hold everything down and to help keep the air out as well and distribute the weight for what we're going to do later. So that goes like that. And then I got some rocks. These are our magic rocks. I don't know. I call them magic rocks. These are the rocks that we've used for a bunch of years in a row. So there are rocks. Oh, one more. Don't forget the other one. And the cover goes on eventually, but you'll see that. One more rock. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Move that plate now. Oh, put it over there. Yes, I'm talking to myself. I'm trying to remember what I did when I did this, but yeah, I didn't want to play the audio from this because it wasn't helpful. I figured I would voice over this part, but I have audio in the other sections. Packing the leaves down here and getting this one all tidied up and made so that it can work its magic. Now you can get a good look at that sauerkraut pounder now that my grandfather made me. He made it specifically for this use. So it's an old piece of ash, I think. Kind of special to me. So is the cutter. The cutter and the pounder sit in the living room on a shelf. The rest, it'll sit there now until 2 years. About every second year we make this much sauerkraut. So, pounding it down here a little bit more. My wife is packing up the stubs, and we're going to put that out for garden mulch. And, I don't know. Hit it or don't, Here we go. Put the plate on. And we're done. Okay. Here we are in the basement. This part of the basement has a floor drain. Right there. With trough. And we have these. So this one's got the plate and the rocks. What's going to happen is this is going to start to rot and juice, and the liquid will come up over this plate, and this will sink down. And over here, the same thing is going to happen. I have a little crock. In some years, we use this crock to, it's a little pickle crock. Some years we use this crock to make some coleslaw too, a small batch if we have too much cabbage. But this year we didn't need it. So this year it's going to be a weight. So that's sitting down there. And I'm going to take the hose and fill this with water. That's enough. Yeah, some gross crap in there. I don't care. That's not going to go into the food anyway. That is just now a weight. Push it down a little more. And the plate is in there to kind of distribute the pressure. Adjust these a little bit. Like so. The other thing which you may or may not know is you need to do this in a basement where it's cooler. That's so that the stuff can work before it rots. And it smells like it's rotting. It smells really bad. Ew. It smells really bad. Like really bad. As it gets worse and worse for the smell, what I'll do is I want all the way down here now, right? But when it starts to smell, and it's working pretty good, I'll probably take 2 rocks off of here, put it on there. This left sunk down a ways, and then I'll put the covers on. I'll put that cover on that one, and got a plastic cover for the other one. And that's just to kind of keep the smell controlled. You don't want to seal it off, but you want it to be kind of in its own environment, so most of the smell stays close to itself. The smell does get really bad, but the flavor is awesome. All right. Okay, let's see. It's been a week. Let's take a look how it looks. I'm standing down here. I'll show you in a second. It doesn't smell yet, so that's good. Let's see what it looks like. All right. So as you can see, it's bubbling like crazy in here. And there's a bunch of foamed up stuff. There is definitely some odor. It is sunk down in probably about 3 or 4 inches. Push down a little bit. That's all normal. Remember, we filled that with water for a weight. That's fine. Let's see how this one is. This one doesn't push down near as much, but the rocks have moved. Let's do this little push. Oh, it's disgusting. All that water was in the cabbage. this side is, sorry, since this side was higher, I'll push it down like that. But then you got this foam stuff here. Almost dry, whatever it is. It's all part of the fermentation process. But it's looking good. Check back in a week. This was 7 days. Well, here we are, another week later. We're going to check on the sauerkraut again. Here we go. Let's look at this one first. Ooh, see how nice and moldy it is. Nice color. How do you tell when it's done? You just have to guess. Usually it kind of stops bubbling. It's hard to tell if it's bubbling, but there sure is a nice mold layer on top, and this is why you use those big leaves. The top is, you don't want to eat the top. So, all right. So what the other one looks like. Got liquid. See a lot of bubbling. You know, when it's still working pretty hard, you see a bunch of bubbling in there. I don't know, we might be getting close. Oh, let's see. I can't see very well back there. Let's see, get the focus. Where's the focus here? There. So you got that foamy stuff there. I don't see any active bubbling, but that's what it looks like in just a couple days, over 2 weeks, going on 3 weeks. So we'll check back again. I think another week or so. We'll see. Well, I'm down here by the sauerkraut, and it's ready. It's ready, but the smell is going to get worse. Let's take a look at what it looks like. It's been 4+ weeks. We'll take a look at what it looks like, and then I'm going to drag it upstairs, and you get to see what's in there. Here we go. All right. Oh, it's better when I get closer. Oh, this is awesome. I love the smell of sauerkraut in the morning. It smells like mold. So, yes, definitely. All right. And then there's that one. All right. I'll get this stuff out of the way. And I need to, okay, you get to see it. All I'm going to do is take that crack off, dump the water out, and carry these upstairs. So, when you next see me, I'll be gloved up and upstairs and ready to... Here we go. Well, here's the pails. Putting on my gloves, since I don't really want to stick my hands in there because I already know what's in there. A lot of disgusting stuff. So I'm outside here in the dark. Got a porch light on. I'm going to stand upwind. I have a garbage bag there. Let's see what we can do. Let's do this one first. Pure slime. Where are we? Pure slime mold. Awesome. Here's a plate. I'm going to kind of use the plate. Well, I don't know if I have to. You see on top here, these are the leaves that were green that you can't really grind up in sauerkraut because they get weird. So use them on top. So this just all gets thrown away. The very top of the shredded kraut ends up to be actually rotted soft. But you want to get this, you want to dig this out. Oh, it smells awesome. You got to dig this out and trying to minimize the amount of the real moldy stuff that gets down into the food. Yes, we're gonna get down to food. Yeah, you can tell it's soft. Some of it's soft. That's what you want to pull off because that's gone. And you want to just kind of like rub it until I'm getting sauerkraut smell now, see? So around the outside edge there's this real soft stuff. This in the middle here is probably good, but it's kind of mixed with this stuff. Where are we? This stuff here is kind of good. The stuff that's around the edge is like turned to jello. That's what you want to try to take off. The jello-ish stuff. You also want to try to scoop the mold. Like that. I think that one's, get some of this out of here. That one is ready. Yep. That one's ready to go. Alright. Let's do the other one. This one doesn't seem to rot so bad, but it's still just as liquidy here. Oh, I have more cabbage leaves on this one. This isn't as rotty. It's harder. This is going to be a better batch. This is all still pretty good. Now, for the real test. Very good. Want some? Good stuff. Well, today's the day we start doing the final assembly of the sauerkraut. You have to store it in some manner so that you can eat it. In our case, we are making enough for about 2 years. So we have to store it that long. What we choose to do is can it in the traditional canning method in jars. Some people freeze it. A lot of things happen. But and we froze it in the past. We just like this better. So we're getting all set up here. I'll show you around. Well, here we've got 2 big canners going on the stove. This big baby here is running both burners. What you have to do is you put the jars in there. You have to sterilize them and get them up to temperature. So they sit in there and you cook the jars basically empty in the beginning. And you'll see specifically what happens. Here is the ring lids. Again, these are being boiled so that they're sterile. And we have the small pot. Small pot is a whole lot less water, and it's just starting to simmer, so this won't be long. We can start to do these first. I think our pint jars are in there. So she'll be pulling the jars out of there, bringing them over to the counter, filling them, and then storing them over there until they pink. That's the setup. We'll get started in a minute. Okay, here we go. This is the process of canning. We got boiling jars. They're sterile. Got boiling lids. They're sterile. He's going to pull this up so that you can get a hold of them. This is always fun how she does this without killing herself. So dump the jars out because you still need the boiling water. And then you set them over here. Do that for the whole bucket. Two at a time, sorry. And we get the sauerkraut and we stuff it in. If you're keeping track, this is not caraway.
And that first.
Add a little water. We need a little water in there to cause the jar to seal properly. Cleaning off the rim. Again, sealing is everything. Gonna pick out a couple lids. Right on top. Now the rings go on snug. They don't crank them tight. Not yet. But they go on snug. You don't want any of the water to leak in. And back in the water. Well, we're going to get more than two at a time this time. That was an apple that we had in there. Apples are put in there for flavor, so they're not put in the sauerkraut in the end. Good stuff. She sets that's back down in there, and we got to bring the temperature up on the sauerkraut until it's, I don't know how long.
Boiling for 10 minutes.
Has to boil for 10 minutes. So once it starts boiling again, then 10 minutes, and then we take them out. Those are jars getting prepared for the next batch. So we're about ready here. She set a timer already. You need to have that boiling, and that's a slow boil, medium boil. It'll be a rolling boil by the time we're done. You want those to boil for about 10 minutes. What's going to happen in that time is the boiling water is going to heat up the, well, in this case it's sauerkraut, but it could be anything you're canning. It's going to heat it up enough to create some steam. Steam will force its way out of the jar through the seal, because it's not completely tight yet. It's snug but not tight, remember? Once that's done, then we're going to pull the jars out, and you'll see what happens. So, 9 minutes, you will see. Yep, that's how we cleaned the jars before. Well, the next step is the last step. And it's kind of like the fun step. The first set of jars is complete. The second set of pints that are over there are starting to do the magic. So I'll show you what I mean. Okay, these are the jars. They just came out of the cooker. And if you look carefully, this one has already done its magic. You can't see from there, but I can see from the light. The rest of these are all going to go PINCK when the inside of the food cools down enough that it sucks this lid down, and then that's how you tell if the food is good or not later. Because if that stays down, you have an aerobic seal and a vacuum seal in there, and the food will stay fresh. If that pops up, then it's exposed to the air, and if when you go to eat these, if you notice any of these popped up, that goes junk. So you want them to all PINCK. I heard the first PINCK, so I'm going to let this sit for a little while. Whoop. Hopefully that won't fall over. So you can sit here and listen, and we'll see if we can hear a PINCK. I'll probably speed it up in between, but let's do a little stir. If you're lucky, you'll actually be able, like that one, when that one goes, you'll actually be able to see it. some of these other ones you might be able to see too. So, we're going to be quiet in the house like little mice, and you're going to listen for the pinks. Let me know if you hear one. I heard one. So let's give you a whole lot more. There's another one. Okay, we're making some jar pinks over here, but let's see where we're at. That one looks down, down, down. All the big ones are down. The big ones go down quicker. But you get to see what happens, right? As the pressure reduces inside, this pulls down, and that's your indication of it's good or not. Well, that's the end of the show today. This is my wonderful bride who knows how to do this from history, and we hope to pass this down to history to somebody else who 5 years from now on YouTube says, oh, that's how you make that HIT stuff. So thanks for watching. Hope it was as fun for you as it was for me. Ooh, it smells so good. Till next time, bye bye.